coxswain. So a coxswain is going to steer the boat for you, make calls, and pay attention to where you're going. If you're in a straight boat, which is what we call a boat without a coxswain, then you got to make sure the guy in the back's paying attention. So I can row both port and starboard. So it's just using the same muscle groups, but just you lean more to one side in terms of like muscle mass. So if you're a port, your left side is going to be a little bit stronger developed because you're going to have to reach out more towards your right-hand side and pull in towards you, and then it's the opposite for starboard. So
it's interesting.
Yeah.
Where is rowing taken you?
Rowing's taken me all over the place, mostly within Canada, but we've been to a couple of places down in the States. St. Catharines, we're lucky here, it has an international level course where we have hosted a World Rowing Championships, and it is going to be the site of the rowing in the 2015 Pan Am Games in Toronto as well too. So we have quite the facilities here. So a lot of the major competitions take place in St. Catharines, like the high school national championships and the Royal Canadian Henley, which is the biggest regatta in the country. So happens here. So we have the privilege of racing on this great course. Other places in Canada that I've been to include Welland, which isn't too far away from here, London, Toronto, Peterborough. So a lot of the more local places. Some of the other guys on our team have been to places like British Columbia and New Brunswick, Quebec. So it depends on where you're from and when events are held, because events can move around sometimes, especially at the Canadian university level. It usually rotates between British Columbia and Ontario in terms of where they race. And I've been to the States quite a few times for rowing. I've been to Boston for Head of the Charles, which is the single biggest regatta on the continent. So I think there's several thousand competitors that go there. So I'll be going there again this year for the third time. And I've been to, where else have I been? Saratoga, which is in New York. I've been to Pittsburgh, and I've also been to Philadelphia, I think 6 times for rowing. So Philadelphia is another place like it is here. Philadelphia's like a hub of rowing down in the States. Pennsylvania Athletics Club or Aquatics Club is down there, and Athletics Club, that's where they have one of the biggest clubs down in the States for summer competitive rowing if you're not on a national team per se. So
cool.
So they're usually our main competition in the summer here at St. Catharines. So.
What do you consider your greatest accomplishment in rowing?
I sort of have a tie for my 2 greatest accomplishments. In high school, I was a lightweight, so I weighed less than 160 pounds. So I was a little fella at the time. And I rowed in the senior men's lightweight pair. So that's 72 kilograms or less at the time. And I rowed with my partner. And we came second in 2006 at the Canadian Secondary School Rowing Championships, which takes place in St. Catharines. And I was in grade 11 at the time, and my partner was in grade 12. He came back to do the 12B victory lap year, and I was in my grade 12 year. And we had a good winter and a good season, and we ended up winning the Canadian National Championships in the senior men's pair. So that was pretty awesome. That was my biggest accomplishment to date at that point, which was 2007. And in 2009, I made the St. Catharines under 23 men's 8. So this is the top boat for the under 23 men's program here in St. Catharines. And we placed first at the Royal Canadian Henley in our division, and St. Catharines had not won that in about 20 years. So it was the first time they had won that event in about 20 years, and those 2 things sort of tie as my biggest accomplishments, as they're essentially 2 national championships for the age category that I was at. And the senior men's under 23 one was a heavyweight boat. I was heavyweight by this point, so
wonderful.
Yeah. So, and I've had different awards come because of that. In high school, I had 2 MVP trophies for rowing, 1 in junior, 1 in senior. And I also won I went to St. Paul High School, so it's a Catholic school, so our Athlete of the Year is called the Father LeBlanc Award, which I won in grade 10, grade 11, and grade 12. Wow. So I won it 3 years in a row, which is pretty awesome. And then when I won with the St. Catharines men's 8, we actually won the St. Catharines Rowing Club Crew of the Year that year in a tight race over the lightweight men's program, which also won their event too. So it's, lots of good stuff has come out of rowing, so it's been good.
Very impressive. what do you believe is the current state of rowing at Brock University?
The current state of rowing at Brock University is it's in a pretty good place at the moment right now. We have in terms of the heavyweight men's program, which I'm a part of, we have our biggest year in terms of depth. We have, I believe, 20 athletes on the team right now, maybe 22 athletes. And in prior years when I've been on the team, we've had maybe 11 at certain points. So we've doubled the amount of guys that we have. And the quality of the athletes coming in the freshman group and has been a lot stronger than in some of the years past. So we have a lot of depth now, and we have a pretty strong heavyweight men's crew right now. So things look pretty good. So we hope to keep progressing towards an Ontario and Canadian championship at the end of October. And the lightweight men's team looks pretty good too as well. They're pretty quick. And the women's program has a lot of depth too. I don't know too much about what's happening in their program because we mostly compete with and race against the lightweights during practice. So we don't always train with the women just due to the fact that we're bigger and faster. So we usually have kind of two separate training groups. But the men's side is looking really strong right now, especially in some of the years past. Last year they won the Ontario University Athletics Championship banner, so we had the most amount of points that year at the championship, so we hope to make it 2 years in a row. No pun intended on the row part, but
very good, very good.
Yeah, so it should be a good fall. We've had some pretty decent rows so far, a couple of good races, so we go into the Brock Invitational this weekend, which is like a feeder regatta for the Ontario champs, kind of like a seeding thing, so they know who to put in which heat for the finals. So
cool.
Yeah, it should be good.
Now, do you see yourself rowing in the future?
I think I could row in the future. It's been a pretty long 9 years of competitive rowing. Haven't really had too many breaks. It's pretty much you go from one season to the next, maybe a week or two off in between each season as you just let your body just shut down for a couple of weeks and recover. So as of right now, I'm doing my graduate studies, right? So it's a lot of work going forward. So I'll probably evaluate where I'm at competitively after the end of the summer season in 2012 and just kind of see what the workload's going to be like for the fall in terms of what research I have to do, where do I have to go to do research, or if I have to go away to do research. Will it conflict with rowing? Like, what's the schedule is going to be like? And I'm going to kind of take it one step at a time at that point. So if I don't row next fall, I'll probably still train just in case over the fall, just to stay fit. And because rowing is not a sport you can just jump back into, especially at this point. You have to stay fit in order to stay up with the top guys. But long term in the future, depending on where I end up working, will sort of influence, I think, if I row or not, and depending on where I work as well too, because it depends on hours. Because you essentially need every weekend off from all summer because you have regattas every weekend away, usually St. Catharines or sort of closer places, but you need the entire day to be there, and you need to prepare all weekend essentially. So, and depends on where you work. If you don't work near a place with a rowing club, you can't really row. You don't want to drive too far because you're going to spend an hour and a half, 2 hours in the water, right? So, it depends. So, because I have actually rowed for another rowing club in the summer of 2010. I rowed for Dawn Rowing Club, which is based out of Port Credit in Mississauga. And it's a completely different type of competitive level there compared to down here. So, I know what level I can compete at, and if I am not able to compete at that level, that'll kind of also hinder my decision to row as well too. So the reason I was up there for that summer is I was on an internship with the Toronto Blue Jays, so I had to live up in Mississauga, the Toronto area, in order to work there, so I wasn't able to make the commute for a 5:30 a.m. practice in St. Catharines to go to Toronto in the morning. That would have been a long day, so it was easier just to base myself out of that club for the summer rather than make a huge commute like that. And so, but I could see myself rowing in the future. Just kind of depends on what factors play out and how things go basically after grad school. So
wonderful. Well, I'd like to thank you for doing this interview with me.
Oh yeah, no problem.
I look forward to hearing about your your accomplishments in the future.
Thank you.